IVM.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, your peak performance coach, life coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and NLP practitioner. I'm also the founder of Abso Expertise Unique, and my organization constantly aims at building leaders across continents. After having worked with so many dynamic business honchos, entrepreneurs, startups, CEOs, management gurus, parents, and student communities worldwide, I am convinced that every individual has unleashed potential. And all we really need to do is realize it. Watch the magic unfold, enhance quality of life, relationships, and professions. On my show, be ready for some riveting conversations with inspirational people, snippets, stories, and much more. So here I am on this exceptional journey to find empowerment and inspiration anywhere I can. Come join me on this breathtaking path of self-realization, potential maximization, positivity, and most of all, embrace your inner power. You are on your way to empowering yourselves. Welcome to the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawalla. Hello and welcome to the Empowering Series with me, Zarina. On today's episode, I'm in conversation with a visionary entrepreneur, a trailblazer in innovation and disruption, and an epitome of humility. Please welcome Manish Chhabra, MD and CEO, Hygienic Research Institute Private Limited. Hello Manish, how are you today?
Hi Zaina, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. All good.
Thank you.
Hope you are also doing well and staying safe and healthy.
Oh yes, absolutely. Hope the same for you as well.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, since you've mentioned staying safe, let me start by asking you, Manish, how have the last few months been treating you?
Well, I would say this pause has helped me personally
Mm-hmm.
in reflecting upon a lot of things, and I would say it's been a good pause. Apart from the other things, like people are facing a lot of issues. There's a general scare in the whole community. But if
Right.
you ask me personally, the pause has had a more positive than a negative effect.
True. True. I'd tend to agree with that. Manish, you've had such an interesting journey, and I think you are embarked upon it and built your organization from a mere 20 to what, 2000 and more now in
Yes,
terms of
yeah,
your employee
you're right.
strength.
You're right. Yeah.
Please tell us all about your journey, Manish. We'd love to know how it all started for you and how have you grown leaps and bounds?
Well, Zaira, it's difficult to honestly capture everything in a small session because there are so
True.
many beautiful memories of that journey.
Right.
But to sum it up, I would say it has been really a good, satisfying, and happy journey.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there were no roadblocks, small speed breakers for sure, and I'm happy to be here
Mm-hmm.
and what we have built as a team together. It's been a great team effort, and I thank everybody who has been a part of this journey. Most of them, I would tell you, are there with me still when I started. Only a few I can count on fingers who have left when I started 30 years back.
Wow.
But it just went on and people started joining in, and I'm really happy to tell you that it's been very satisfying.
Manish, you mentioned that it's a long journey and you want to sum it up, but we have all the time in the world to listen to you. So I'm happy to, I'm happy to hear all the stories coming in with those little, you said speed breakers. Now, there's another thing I realized while you were talking about this is the
Mhm.
positivity and optimism. Most people do see roadblocks in a journey, but you're seeing speed breakers. So that kind of summarizes the way you look at life and business
Yeah.
in terms of things, right? But when you started off, what was the thought you had behind wanting to be an entrepreneur? Did it happen to you? Did you, you were you passionate about it?
Well, Zaina, that was always the plan, if
Okay.
you ask me. From 12th standard, when I was studying and wanted to do my B Pharma, uh, that was the plan to be an entrepreneur. And I was one of those guys who spent 50% of the time in the nearest tea stall from the college,
Right.
where we can see the college and we think that the professors can't see us. Later on, we did come to know that they knew where we were sitting, and I think 100 business plans were made there, and 200 got cancelled.
Right.
So that's what we lived, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Timing, I would say, because my father passed away at a very early age. I was 19.
Okay.
So I joined in the business. I started learning the business at the age of 19. Officially, I joined at the age of 20 when I finished my graduation. And I sincerely thank my mom and my uncle who ensured that I finished my graduation. Like an angry young man at that time, I really wanted to leave everything and come back and, help my mother, who was just 38 at that point of time, and, help her and help my uncle.
Right.
But they ensured that they said, no, education is something which you have to finish. So I finished my pharmacy in Pune College of Pharmacy. Those were the best days of my life. One of those best days, I would say, because all days that have been really, really good for me. So the journey started there. And when I came in 1991, we were in a small factory in Mazgon, Sitapalwadi. It was a 1,200 square feet factory. And there was one small room with one table, and my mom and my manager used to sit there. And I would sit outside where all the filling line was there.
Right.
But I enjoyed that time. In 93, I realized in 2 years, I learned, the tricks of manufacturing. I was a pharmacist. So
Right.
production was my core, and I understood that. In 93, I realized that if I really want to grow, and I will need to come out of this place, because at those times people wouldn't give you power, they wouldn't tell you what's happening. You had to learn from your own. I used to sit with the workers, I used
Right.
to go out with them, I used to have food with them, sometimes have a drink with them, and understand. And I was very fluent in Marathi, so because of my staying in Pune. So I became one of them, and I learned everything, the tricks. And then in 93, my grandfather and my father had, you know, thankfully made a factory in MIDC Andheri, but which was empty. It was my dad's plan to make a pharmaceutical company out there. But, because of his sad demise, and my grandfather also passed away, uh, I had that empty place. And I started my first factory, or I would say the first production line there. I remember it was I got married that day. And after my marriage, I went to the factory because we had to start the line.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife is also a pharmacist. She's also from Pune. And we both went to the factory. My in-laws came to see me in the factory. And that's how the journey started. So I remember it's sometimes when I look back, uh, it was amazing those days. And in 95, I became a father also at the age of 25. So it was, it was, it was different, but it was good. I'm telling you, Zarina, I think those were the best moments. We learned a lot. And then, the journey started. Then I realized that, now we have the production facilities. Now we need sale. So
Mm-hmm.
I started going into the market. Northeast was my first zone where I went. I went to Calcutta. And then from there, I went to Northeast. Northeast that time was a disturbed area,
Right.
Northeastern Bihar. And I realized that if I have to succeed, I have to go in a place where nobody else goes, because then it will be like, an open place to, there will be not much competition. So I chose my markets very intelligently, where I found that the competition will be less, because we didn't have the money to, advertise and, spend a lot on branding. For us, it was like sale, sale, sale. And I remember I told my production manager के यू नो जिस दिन हम 20 crores पहुंचेंगे ना, उस दिन मैं रिटायर हो जाऊंगा. and I think I will be the happiest man on earth. And we reached that very soon.
Oh, wow.
And and then obviously, an entrepreneurs always are hungry for more.
True.
Uh, It took me only 6 months to realize that your achievements are only for that day, and you have to prepare for the next quarter. As a salesman, I from a production guy became a salesman, and I realized that you have to live every month. Every month end is the number which you have to uh, show, and then you live by the quarter, then you live by the financial year, and the happiness and the success only is there for that one night. Next day morning, it's another target, and you have to move on.
Right.
So I realized that very soon. And then it went on, and then slowly, my brother came in. Uh, he was into marketing, so that was a big support. So all of us in the family, like my mother, myself, my brother, my wife, we all were working, and everybody had their roles to play. My uncle was taking care of the office. Obviously, I was in the market, being the eldest in the house. I divided our roles and responsibilities, and then it went on, and then from 20 crores to 50, then the first 100. And when the first 100 came, I did not know what to do. It was like something which I had never expected, never thought about. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually did not know what to do after the first 100. My nature, Zarina, is that I always believe that when in doubt, ask.
That's one.
Never, never feel scared to go and ask. And I picked up the phone and I called up Mr. C.K. Ranganathan of Kevin Care. He was in Chennai. And um, at that time, his brand, Chick and Velvet, were doing good. He was actually my competition.
Okay.
But I went to Chennai, went to his office, asked him for a half an hour, and everybody was telling me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just going and asking a colleague what is happening in the industry and what do you think I should do?" Because he had also reached his 100 or 2 3 years back, and I knew that in the market. I went there, I spoke to him, so he guided me.
So, Manish, the journey from starting off at 19, continuing your education, jumping into business, I have to tell you there's one common aspect here between you and me. We
Mhm.
also have a warehouse in Sitafalwadi to this
Oh,
day.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So when
nice.
you said it, I was like, hey, that is quite an irony because I haven't really come across. Of course, it is it's a huge place at Tafalwadi, but everybody has their own, and I think most people are there for many years. So
Yeah, it's just one lane and you enter. Where were you actually? I didn't actually.
12B. So
So we
Poonawalla.
were 16B. Yeah. So yeah, we were 16B.
So EA Poonawalla is
Yeah.
our
I-
godown, the one in the corner. So
Yes, I do remember. I do know about it.
there you go. So when you said that, I was like, this rings a bell. I must tell you that there is another, very weird common connection between you and me, which is great. Having said that, you know, being able to pull off something like Vasmol, which I personally have always seen those jingles on television, and I don't think there's anybody who does not know that product. Not
Yes.
that they haven't used it, just because Vasmol ne kiya kamal, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. Surakshit Kale Mere Baal.
But
Vasmol ne kiya kamal.
right.
Yes.
So I think there's nobody who could miss out on that, Manish. Everybody's grown with that, whether they've needed the color or not, the color black. But
Yeah.
how did Streaks happen to you, and how was Streaks born?
So we went on and on and on, and then Bangladesh started. We started getting orders from Bangladesh, uh, but it was very difficult to go to Bangladesh at that point of time because visas were very difficult to get.
Right.
So we spoke to our Bangladeshi counterpart and told him that can we meet somewhere in Singapore, because four of us couldn't go, myself, my sales agent.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, that's not an issue. Let's meet in Singapore. So we went to Singapore. When I went to Singapore, I'm talking somewhere in the year 2000. There I saw that everybody had colored hair,
Okay.
and we were having a brand called Vasmol. So Vasmol is, it's one of the leading single solution hair dye
Yes.
in the
Yes.
market. So we are actually having a 96% market share in the emulsion based hair dye. So, but that the challenge is that Vasmol can only turn gray to black, and black was the thing which was in Indians wanted black color. They,
Right.
they like dark black hair. But when I went there, I saw that everybody is having colored hair, and I was surprised, and I really wanted to come out with a product which can give color. So when I came back to India, I went back to my R&D team, and it was my wife was there and one young boy called Ajit who had joined with me in '93 itself.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, okay, listen, we have to make colors. So they said, sir, we can make colors, but it is the concept is different. It doesn't fit in our strategy of a single solution AI. I said, no, fine, but the world is going there, and I could see competition coming in. We need to make something. He said, okay, but we will need some better technology. So I started talking to consultants, okay,
Right.
who can help us develop this brand. Unfortunately, there were not too many color technicians at that point of time in India to help us develop that product. So I said, where to go? And at that point of time, laptops had just come in, uh, and I had got my first laptop. Emails were there. Google was not there. Some other, uh, you know. So I started emailing to everybody and anybody whom I could find in the net who supplies colors. So I found many in Europe, some in Belgium, some in Italy, and I went there. And before going there, uh, I had gained the knowledge of how to work Excel sheets, but I did not know how to make PowerPoint presentations.
Right.
So I appointed a consultant, and he made some fancy good PowerPoint presentations. And I said, okay, now we have to go to France. That's the fashion capital of the world. Let's go there and understand. So I took a small 1 month course to learn French, and I was very clear. I didn't want to learn French to speak French. I just wanted to convey my message. So everything which had got to do with hair, like how to color your hair, and I want this product. Your hair color looks good. This is what I want. So I learned all that, and and just took the flight and went to I went to Italy. I went to France. But unfortunately, what happened when I went there was nobody was ready to share technology. They wanted to sell their products to us. I was clear at that point of time that I will never, sell anybody else's brand. If we have to make, we have to make our own brand. And I wanted people to help us develop a product, but I couldn't find anybody. I came back to India, and then I said, now where to go? So then I again wrote some mails to, consultants in the US,
Right.
and I went all the way to Sykeston. I had a friend there, and then I remember that day, it was very cold. It was full winter, and we drove from Sykeston to Chicago. It was a 10-hour journey, and we went there and we landed up at a gentleman's place, and I asked him that, listen, I'm Manish Chhabra. I've come from India, and I want to make colors. He said, okay, good. What do you do? So then I told them about, and I had made a proper presentation. So my
Right.
presentation was there. I told him everything about my company, what we do. He was very impressed the way Vasmol had grown. So he said, okay, fine, I'll help you. But there were many ifs and buts. I don't want to get into that. But he agreed.
Right.
He agreed, and he gave us, a little bit uh, basic formulation. They're the base formula. Said, okay, I'll give you the base formula. You can go back in India and talk to your R&D team, and if they require anything, we can always chat, and I'll help you from here. So I came back to India, discussed that formulation, the base formulation which we got, and it worked. And I could, I remember the first day. You get those hair stresses. Those are the synthetic hair.
Yes.
So we used to make small batches in the laboratory and apply them on the hair. And when the color used to change to red, brown, and burgundy. It was a party time because we knew that we are cracking it. We are getting there. And it took us around a year, and we mastered the formulation, and we did all the tests and stability studies and whatever needed to be done. Once we did that, it was the year ending. So I called all my distributors all from India. I remember we were getting into something which was more savvy, more A, because right now Vasmol was catering to the B, B plus, and the rural areas of the India, and we wanted to get into A. Everybody came and said, आप इसका नाम वास्मोल रख दीजिए, ये बहुत बिकेगा. And I was sure that no, we can't call it Vasmol because Vasmol has a different identity.
Right.
It has a different proposition. This is a different product. It has a different proposition. And that's how Streax was born. I remember we had our annual sales conference in the Hotel Retreat. And if you have been to Retreat anytime, that was one of the best, hotels to be in. And if you're having a conference in Retreat, means you are there. That
Right.
was the feeling. And if we had gone to the swimming pool, there is a walkway.
Yes, you have a little bridge over.
There's a bridge, exactly. So we made a life-size carton of Streax. And with the pulley, it came up, and there was like firecrackers. It was a rom-pom show. Everybody was surprised. And they were just like, what is this happening in HRI? And they were so happy about it. And Streax was just born, and we gave them demonstrations. We had called volunteers. We applied the color on various volunteers, and they were surprised to see, okay, now HRI has come out with colors which can give brown, reddish brown, burgundy. We only had made 6 colors at that point of time. Mm-hmm. We were very happy, and everybody was excited. That the sales team was excited, the distributors were excited, and they said, "Sir, this is going to take the company to a different level. We are on roll." And we didn't have much competition at that point of time. So, except for few others, but that was also from gray market, not actually being manufactured in India. So we started that. Now came the speed breaker, as I would tell you. So we got orders from the distributors, and the production was done. And at that point of time, Zaina, actually, I did not know what do you mean by test marketing and what do you mean by pilot studies.
Right.
For us, it was like manufacture, go to the distributors, take the orders, dispatch the goods, and start. But at that point of time, after making CK and other good friends in the industry, they told me, Manish, always when you launch a new product, do a test market. Somehow that had stayed with me. So we dispatched the goods in one zone, and when we dispatched Streax at that point of time, we suddenly realized that the market had changed. Our formulation was a formulation which had two solutions. It was not a creme formulation. And market saw all the other colors started coming in the creme form.
Right.
And it was not rocket science to realize that, okay, I'm not making a future product. I'm making a product which will probably, going out of the market. And that was a big decision. We took all the goods back, everything which we had made, all the hard work and all the pomp show which we had done. We just said, let's just take a pause. We took all the goods back. We went back to the R&D, and I should compliment my R&D team. They actually burned candles in the night. And in 6 months, again, the creme form of Streax was launched. And that is where actually the brand Streax became a super hit. And I'm really thankful to my R&D team who were there. They're still there with me, and who helped. And I also thank all my CFO at that point of time who were ready to take that hit in the balance sheet. So that's how Streax was actually born. And this was a roadblock, if you would say. But for me, it was a speed breaker. Okay, fine. You were going at a speed. Mm-hmm. There is a breaker now. You need to understand that you have the brand, you have the market, you just need to tweak it. So then that's the time the Indian, Modi ji is talking about Atmanirbhar. And I would say we started our Atmanirbhar journey way back.
Right.
So I'm very proud of my whole team. And I'm also proud of my sales team because, it was a dampener to them. They had taken targets based on streaks. Their incentives were based on that sale. But
Mm-hmm.
that year went for a toss, and we still gave them their incentives in spite of zero sale, saying it is not your fault. We would have, if we would have given you the goods, you would have sold it. So those are the small things, which we kept on doing. We never allowed the team to suffer because of some speed breaker which have happened at the back end.
Right.
So co-creation was always the mantra in HRI. It is still there. We ensure that we work together as a team, and that's how Streaks was born. Actually,
That's wonderful. But what I take away from this, Manish, apart from the fact that, yes, those speed breakers and that much innovation, being able to go out there and see that, hey, this is what somebody is doing, and how come we don't have this? And we should create it. And then taking the effort to travel countries, to research, to understand, to meet the right people, all of that requires a very, very strong leader. And most of all, when a team is taking the hits for you, or when you're seeing a financial valley, when you're thinking of a peak, at that point in time, I think it's very important to have a leader who's so strong and optimistic as yourself, because I can definitely tell that's who you are, and I've already mentioned this before. But do you feel, Manish, that, as a person who's always thriving and growing, do you think that this journey of yours could have begun any earlier, or you could have started it much before? Like you said, you've been Atmanirbhar as an organization, as people, as employees for a very long time anyway. Do you think your journey could have commenced any sooner?
yes, Zarina, uh, I do think about it, and I would really like to share this experience of mine with you,
Please do.
and I hope the listeners also understand and what I'm trying to say. Uh, it's about the importance of education.
Right.
See, generally, entrepreneurs, when they get into business, they either take a 3 or 4 years experience somewhere outside, or they go to some, good management school. They understand what are the SOPs which are required, what are the processes which are required. Unfortunately for me and my brother and my mom and my uncle, we just went into the business without having this background knowledge.
Right.
I feel that if I would have got that chance to understand the the processes and systems which are taught in various B schools, I think the journey would have been much more smoother and faster. We knew everything by common sense, and let me tell you, everything is common sense.
Agree.
But you need to know how to implement it. So let me tell you this story. This happened sometime in 2007 after Streaks was born. And Streaks professional division was also born at that time in 2007. I knew that now we need to change and we need to take that next leap. And I knew that without professionals, this will not happen. And I kept on thinking for a year, and we started, interviewing people and asking people to come and join the organization. And they would come, they would like the culture, and they would say, this is a really great organization. It's a family run organization. We, we all work like a family. Everybody is multitasking. All that is good.
Hmm.
But at some point of time, you require some sort of discipline,
Right.
which was, I believe, in those years were lacking. It was more, we used to take knee jerk, there were knee jerk reactions. We used to be, we used to react more to things rather than think about what is the next. So there was no strategy as such. We would just like, okay, this is happening, let's do this. This is happening, let's do this. So we would course correct, we would change, and obviously we lost a lot of money while we were doing that. So I realized very soon at that point of time that now I require professionals in the organization. But not many good professionals were ready to come. At that point of time, in economic times, there was an advertisement saying MDP program in IIM Ahmedabad for 7 days.
Okay.
I read it and I said, wow, this is the place to go. And I just paid the fees without knowing. And I'll tell you what happened actually. With the with a thought in my mind. And I reach Ahmedabad. I go to the class. It's around 4 o'clock. It's an introductory class where you are introduced and the professors come. What is going to happen? And I will take the name here because I am really really indebted and thankful to him, and I hope he hears this podcast. Professor Biju Varki, he came to attend, and the first thing he said, anybody who has come here to recruit people, this is not the place. Please get up and go. And actually, I'd gone to do that only. My
Right.
thought was that if I'll go there, I'll meet like minded people, I'll befriend them, I'll understand where they are, and then I'll poach. That was my thought process.
Right.
And I felt, oh, what's happening? I paid so much of money, and this is what I came here for. And the first line professor said was this. The second line he said, we don't give you solutions. We teach you how to think. And that is the one line which I said, oh wow. So forget the first thought which I came for. Let us understand how to think. And in those 7 days, what I learned from Professor Biju Varki and Professor Sinha, I said changed the whole course of HRIPL. They I slept only for 2 to 3 hours those 7 days. They used to give us case studies. The teams were formed. You know how in management schools they give you case studies in the night, and then you have to, there's a question, and then you have to answer, and then you have to make a presentation. And next day morning you give a presentation, and there's a discussion and another case study, and so I don't know. So it went on and on, and I really went back to my college days. That's where I understood what is the meaning of vision, mission. I came back to Bombay a new man, a different person. I wanted those kind of professionals in my organization. Now, how to get them? And I said, why to get them from outside? What am I doing? There are so many intelligent people who have traveled this journey with me. Why should I leave them? Let's train them. So I wrote the whole journey of HRIPL till 2007 in a small, I would say 15, 20 pages of like a story, like a case study. And I made the question. So I had case studies. So I understood what the case study content should be and the question should be. I made that and I mailed it to Professor Biju Varki and Professor Sinha. I told them, this is HRI. This is where I'm standing. And it's my vision to take it to 1,000 crore company. And I learned one thing there, that if you want to be 1,000 crore company, start thinking like one. Please mark my sentence, start thinking like one, okay? And I will elaborate later. They were kind enough to call me back. We had a long discussion. They said, okay, 6 months, choose your core team. So we chose around 22, 23 people. I don't remember the right number. And they said, we will do a 6 month session, but only one condition. You will not come.
Okay.
I said, okay. Why should I not come? I am the leader. I have to do it. Why are you saying I cannot come? I will feel left out. They said, no, you will not come. Rest everybody will come. My mom went, my wife went, my brother went, but you will not come for the
Okay.
6 months. So we had those sessions which were divided into 6 months. It was like not every day. It was like 4 or 5 sessions. I don't remember the right thing. Where the core team would go to Ahmedabad, stay there, and on the last day, when they said, now you come, Manish. So I went there when everybody was like, they were having a gala time, and I could see, and I was seeing, and I was very jealous of, they were really having a good time,
Right.
and they were studying and they were learning, but I was happy that things are moving in the right direction. And they said, now your core team is ready. Now you have to make a vision and a mission statement for HRIPL. And that's where we made the vision for HRIPL with my internal core team. And we made the mission statement. We came back to India, and then, yes, rest is history. And then from there, we went on growing. People started coming in. It became from a family run to a family owned, professionally run company. And I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying. If I would have done this, your question was, could you have done something which would have shortened the journey? So sometimes when I sit back and I think that if I would have done this probably 3, 4 years back,
Right.
The numbers would have been different as what we are today. But no hard feelings. There is no regret. Everything has a time. So I'm very happy because I truly believe that everything happens at the right time. So I think that is the time. So that changed my whole perspective, and and I would urge the listeners that education is something very important. Do you know I did not know what a KRA mean in 2007?
Really?
I did not know what a KRA or a KPI meant. I used to call it objective, but so so I knew we used to do that, but we should do that in our own methods. But there's a scientific way by which it should be done, which I learned there. So the first thing which I did was when I came back, I made my KRA and I discussed that KRA with the whole organization that this is my KRA. And now after the KRA, who will rate me?
Right.
So I asked the core team to rate me. They rated my KRA and I had incentives based on that.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So that's how the whole, so that's what I said that, the journey from a family run to a family owned, professionally run organization started somewhere in 2007. I wish it would have started at least 5 years before. Things would have been much, much better. They are very good right now, but they could have been a little bit more greater, I would say. So education is something which I say, Zarina, people and children should not forget. They
No,
should keep that in their mind.
I agree. And from what you speak, I also understand that it's very true when they say that there is no age or time for learning. Although you were running and are running a successful organization, you still chose to educate yourself in order to create more, create more opportunity, make it more lucrative, and create a structure to your
Yeah,
business. I believe
exactly.
that is very important for any company, any business, in fact, even in general, because if you look at life is in itself like a little business. You have to structure it, you have to discipline it, you have to figure yourself out what works, what doesn't. So I keeping that in mind, I would reckon that it's fantastic that you chose to learn and educate yourself in different phases and situations, Manish.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do because when you're running something successful, you tend to sometimes be hungry, like you mentioned earlier, but then sometimes you also become quite laid back or you become comfortable in the space you are. Isn't that right?
uh, you do become comfortable, but in this world, they say that complacency does come in,
Mm-hmm.
no doubt about it. But then nothing beats success like success, right?
True. That
So you have to keep moving on. You
okay.
have to- So beyond a point, you don't work for yourself, you work for your organization because the organization is hungry to grow. The people are hungry to grow. They
That's
need
true.
to
That's very
move up the ladder. Now, if you do not grow,
so, Manish, you've been educating yourself. You've been reaching your business out to so many people there, and you're constantly ideating and innovating. How does a Manish Chhabra make time for personal growth or make time for things that he loves? With that kind of a schedule, I'm sure your hands full, Manish.
I have all the time in the world's arena right now.
That. I love when you say that, but please tell me, how do you make time? Because there are a lot of people out there who probably, I won't categorize them or stereotype them, but I will say this question comes often to me as well. But when you see a person who's really doing so much with their life, you tend to wonder how do they make time. And then there are people who are literally complaining, Manish. You come across those who are constantly complaining, yaar mere paas time nahi hai, I don't have time for this. And you wonder what they're doing all day because they seem like they have all the time in the world. That is why I'm asking you what our listeners could benefit from a tip or trick from you.
Okay. So this is also funny, okay? Please don't laugh at this. I love dancing.
How?
Somehow. Okay. I love to dance.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, how do I get this aspiration of mine or, this passion of mine get dancing in parties and all is fine, but so what I did was every conference from last 6 conferences, I don't remember the years, but that was the year when Vasmol was not doing that good. It had somehow stagnated. And, people were thinking that, how will Vasmol grow? Because, other competition had become more stronger. They had more, deep pockets. They were advertising like crazy. And,
Right.
we were half that, the amount which they were advertising. So obviously, it is going to have an effect on your consumers. So we're a loyal base, but we were not growing the way we should grow. That time, I remember it was in Ramoji City, and that time we had 700 people. So we didn't have a conference room which can accommodate 700 people. So we went to Ramoji City, and those hangars are there where the uh, aircrafts are parked.
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah. So Ramoji City has those hangars. So we booked one of the hangars. I wrote a song with my GM sales called "Hum Hai Vasmol, Bechenge Vasmol,"
Okay.
and then nobody knew about this except me and him. We went and recorded that song. It was a 6 minute song. Okay.
Right.
I flew 2 days before to Hyderabad, called a choreograph. That time, Nachballi had come.
Hmm.
And I was very, very fascinated by that, that format. And I wish I could go there once. But my wife will not allow me to do that.
No, she's not supposed to allow you. She's supposed to go with you.
I know that. So uh, I went to Hyderabad, had a choreography, unit,
Mhm.
and we choreographed a dance for 6 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And it was a clue, after my speech, uh, lights went off in the full hangar. And I had just rehearsed one set 1 o'clock in the night on the stage with my GM.
Hmm.
And this was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock before lunch was the idea. And the whole hangar's ka light went off and the song started. Nobody knew about this. And this is the first time I've ever hid anything from my wife. Otherwise, I'm very open with her. And they were like, and I could see for 6 minutes me and my GM, the two were dancing, and there was no response coming from the audience. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I went on dancing, and I'm trying to see के response क्यों नहीं आ रहा है.
Hmm.
And then after the song ended, after 6 minutes, a 50 feet banner of Vasmol, Bechenge Vasmol, came down from the top. And I went down on my knees. I'm having goosebumps and I'm talking to you. I went down on my knees and I said, Bechenge Vasmol. And right now I'm talking, I'm having tears in my eyes.
It must be a moment for you.
And the light just came out and I could see tears. People were crying. That year we grew by 20%, Zarina. 20%.
I
It was one of the, I hope you can imagine what would have happened in the 700 people. And then we played that song again and again and again. In the night, it just went on. It was one of the best moments of my life. And then it became like, ritual that हर एक conference होगा, Manish का dance होगा.
but I think
And
you made it so personal, and I think it touched everybody. It just
yeah,
touched
yeah.
everybody.
So, so that's how I pursue my, I sorry, I deviated from the question. Uh, Apart from that, yes, uh, this is also a small, I'm sorry if I'm telling you too many stories about my life,
Oh,
but
I'm so glad you are. It just shows how
uh,
passionate you are about what you do, and I'm more than willing to listen.
so when I was 38, I was playing squash and suddenly I got a pain in my chest. In the back of my mind, I always, had it that, my father had, you know, gone at an early age of 44 because of this issue. So it always played on in my mind. That was one fear which I could never come out of, because they said everything is genetic, everything is hereditary. So, and I was a smoker. So I got a pain in my chest. I was playing squash and I said what to do. I stopped playing. I called up my wife and I said, just come, let's go out. I remember it was a Friday night.
Right.
So we went back. I drove the car back home. And on Saturday, we had to go for somebody's anniversary. I went there, but that Saturday, and Sunday, there were two back to back functions. I did not touch a drink. I did not touch a smoke. Nothing. On Monday morning, I called up my friend, and my friend called me up and told me, Manish, what's the issue? You looked a bit down. I said, I had this pain and, I'm a bit worried. So he said, okay, uh, why don't you go to this doctor and just show him, just go.
Right.
And I went to one doctor and he said, Mr. Chhabra, right now. right now get yourself admitted, right now. And I said, what? I wouldn't believe it. He said, no, you have to get yourself admitted right now. You are living, that's a miracle. Just go. I said, really? And my wife was there with me, and we both, I started actually trembling, and all those dirty thoughts started coming in my mind. And I went out. I went to the nearest cigarette shop, smoked, stubbed it, and said, this is last. Went to Nanavati and told, I'm Manish, patient को admit करने वाला कौन वाला मैं myself. I admitted myself, but did not tell anybody. And, thankfully I got treatment, and then 3 stents were put. I got an angiography and an angioplasty done at that point of time when I was 38.
At 38?
Yes.
That's very young.
Yeah, but it's okay. So, and then I came out, and that's when the change happened.
Right.
Then one thing led to another. I got introduced to a very good yoga teacher who brought me out, and then I started learning yoga, and then he taught me kung fu. And people would tell me, you are mad, you have stents, and what are you doing? I said no, but I was still not very keen on how things are moving. My zeal had gone, my enthusiasm had gone. I was scared of things. I would hesitate to go out. There's a fear which comes into you,
Sure.
after such a big surgery. It took me around, I remember it was around Diwali time, and Diwali time generally in India, Bombay, it's buzzing.
Yes.
And people would tell me, Manish, come, and I wouldn't go. That was only 9 months when I was the most, when I had a low period in my life. Then one fine day, again, one friend of mine came and he said, Manish, what's happened to you? You know what? Come, there is one seminar which is happening in Mayfair. Come. I said, what is a seminar? I don't like seminars and all. I'm fed up of listening to Gyan. Everybody who comes, who tells me different things to do, and I'm actually fed up.
Right.
Of, somebody coming and telling me have adrak, somebody coming and telling lasun khao, ye khao. I'm actually done with all that now. He said, no, you please come. So just as a matter of respect, because this is one thing which I will never change in my life. Whenever somebody tells me, with his full heart, you come to know, you have to give priority and you have to invest in that person. So I went there. It was about this. I'm sure everybody in the world knows about this. It's about that. It was a story about The Secret.
Yes.
From Rhonda Byrne.
Yes, Rhonda
So
Byrne.
they were having a seminar on that. I did not know. I didn't know anything. I just went as a respect to my friend. And there they started talking about how your thoughts, they decide how you're going to be. And it was like a 1 hour of flashback of my life. And that day, I understood that how, you have to keep positive thoughts.
Absolutely.
And then I started getting into yoga, and then I started doing meditation, and I started having thoughts. I ensure that every day I give 1 hour of mine to myself, either through walk or through yoga or through some other exercise or play a game. So I changed a little bit, I learned tennis at the age of 42. I had never held a racket. I was not a very, sporty person.
Right.
But I learned all that, and I started spending time on myself because, if I am healthy and I am happy, then people around me are healthy and happy.
True.
If I am not, and then, this is one thing you have to, people say lead from the front, but it is not only about, telling go and do this sales and you go to the market. That all is true. That all needs to be done. But you also need to tell your people how to remain happy, how to remain fit, because we are in such a high stress life. Every as I told you before, that we live by the month and by the quarter and by every 31st March.
Yeah.
And the success is only one day. The next morning, you have to start preparing for the next target. So if you have to do that, you have to discipline yourself. So this is one discipline which I, brought in my regime. And
That's great.
I'm lucky to say I have very good friends who supported me all the time, and in this endeavor of mine. And then this is how I do it. So I play tennis at times. I can dance alone in the room. I just put on the music and I keep on dancing. And then I like to learn different martial art techniques which I couldn't do before. So I started doing all that, and that helped me. And there is time for everything.
That's true. That's true. I think the secret's biggest message is to be able to attract the positive frequencies around you through saying the right things to yourself. And I think
Yes.
that is so important. People underestimate the importance of affirmations and positive thinking. So
Right.
I'm so glad that you benefited from it or you use it actively in your life. So, Manish, this brings us to the last segment of our conversation today. And although I'm enjoying this thoroughly, and maybe we should have another conversation sometime soon and have
Yeah,
a part
sure.
two of this conversation because your stories are so riveting and they're so inspiring in themselves that I wish to keep listening to them. But today
Thank you so much.
we'll have to come to the last segment of this piece. And one of the questions that I have to ask you for sure is a belief that you swear by, Manish.
See, one thing which I always remember, and two things actually. The first one is never ask people to do what you will not do yourself. I repeat, never ask people to do anything which you will not do it yourself. This is one strong belief which I have.
Fantastic.
And the other thing which my father taught me before, he went on his another journey was, uh, and he used to keep on telling me, कि जो काम करने से खुद का नुकसान ना हो और दूसरे का भला हो, मनीष वो काम सबसे पहले करना. So, if you keep these two basic principles in life,
Mm-hmm.
it, I'm telling you, Zaina, you put any instance, any instance, it will fall into these two things. So I truly believe in these two principles of life.
Those are really pillars. I mean, if people actually focused on these two principles, I think life would be, I don't say it would be less difficult or more easy or whatever people like to call it in their own perception, but it definitely becomes worthwhile. It's fulfilling.
Yes, it is fulfilling. Yeah, trust me on that. And then I can go on. There are many other things which you have. You have principles in business, integrity is there, all those things. But they will all fall in place if you keep these two things in mind. Eventually, they will fall in place somewhere or the other in these two sentences.
Right. All right. And the next question that I have for you is some words of wisdom for leaders and organizations out there, considering, Manish, the fact that, the pandemic did hit everybody really hard and the way companies are seeing their future has slightly changed. Maybe
Yeah.
visions have changed. Maybe something about the way they're seeing the outcome in the future has changed. So, some words of wisdom from you on that.
Uh, you know, you are using a very strong word called wisdom.
People say that I'm not wise. I wisdom is, but I feel it's
No, let me tell you. Let me reword it for you.
yes.
I will share a few principles because your question is related to organization and not social.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I will restrict myself to those boundaries of organization.
Okay.
So I would request all entrepreneurs and all young budding entrepreneurs, startups to remember only one thing. Remember, each organization is different. Each. What is true for Tom is not necessarily true for Jerry. Each organization has different culture. They are at different stages of their journey. You should learn, you should listen, you should understand what good companies have done. Do not try to replicate or implement it in your organization without judging the fact where you are, at what stage you are. Let me put it this way. If I have the time, I will just take 2 minutes of yours to, explain this. So when you go out and you see that this organization, they are working in this principle, these are the SOPs, these are the people they are having a, like, imagine in 1990, in 2007, when we came out from IM, we made an organogram which said that, you have to have a CFO, you have to have a CMO, you have to have a COO, you have to have, a production head. So a proper full organogram was made. Now, when I came back, I realized, okay, fine, this is the organogram which I have to reach, and this is how good companies work like. Now, if I would have started implementing everything from day one, then what would have happened?
Right.
Then I would have, A, the company was not ready as a, with the infrastructure,
yes,
to handle this kind of people. Secondly, it would not be able to afford it. So if I would have recruited people, all the people at the same time, A, half of them would have got dissatisfied because, they would have come, professionals, nothing excites them like work. Okay, compensation, CTC, all that is very important. Those are given things. But if they do not get work satisfaction, then, they stagnate and they get bored and they leave you.
right.
And sometimes good people with real good knowledge just do not fit in an organization, not because you are bad or they are bad, because the organization at this point of time is not ready. So always remember these small things. That yes, if you want to become a 1,000 crore company, you should think like a 1,000 crore company, but implement it in a phased manner so that your company and your team can, take or benefit from that person who is coming in. That this is one. So, remember, always go in a phased manner. Organizations are different. Their, the dynamics of each organization is different. That is one, big takeaway which I have learned, and we have always done that. Uh, for an instance, when we were making scaling up our factory and production, I could have started 5 factories at the same time, but we didn't. Now there is a school of thought which they say, think of 5 years and make make a bigger factory so that you can scale up. But then that would mean taking debt, taking loan, having spare capacity, frustrations, and so on. So we always used to plan for 2 3 years and not for 5 6 years. We never overspent on anything. We kept our costs in control. So nothing should be at the cost of bottom line. They say that uh, right now this word valuation is a very savvy word.
Yeah.
Everybody likes valuation. Valuation kitna hai? What is a valuation? And I think sometimes what? And one of a very learned gentleman told this to me, and he said that, remember, Manish, uh, valuation is vanity, EBITDA is sanity, but cash is reality.
Lovely.
So if you remember these three things, remember cash is reality. So do not burn. These are very. What is your burn money? Why burn money? And sometimes I wonder, why burn money? What do you mean burn money? No, these small concepts people should understand, and I request entrepreneurs to understand. Yes, you should invest. Yes, you should, you know, uh, put in a lot of money behind your brand, behind your organization. But remember what I said: cash is reality. Do not overdo it. Valuation is an outcome. It is an output. It will come.
Right.
Right now, concentrate on your core. And in this pandemic, all companies who have their core strong, their basics right, and discipline in their system have survived, and they will beat the storm. Trust me, you will see it in March 21.
I agree.
Companies with strong basics and a clear cut strategy laid down and who are cash rich will beat the storm, and then the growth will be, of different numbers.
Right.
So, I think if that answers your question, this is what small.
It does, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of entrepreneurs can benefit because there are a lot of jargons these days when you're thinking about businesses, startups, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
plugins sometimes they make sense, and most of the times they might make sense, but sometimes you're not supposed to be sticking just to the word. You need to go beyond. You need to
Yes.
dig. So I completely get where you're coming from.
Entrepreneur should always ask a question, Zarina.
Yes.
When is it that I'm going to make money? Which day? Have that date. It's okay. You can tell me I will make from the fourth quarter. No problem. I will make from the fifth quarter. No problem. That's okay. You're taking an informed decision. But ensure that every quarter the trajectory is going towards that.
True. True.
If it is not going, don't say, no, I'm shifting my goalpost from fifth quarter to the 10th quarter. Okay, pandemic, demon, and GST, they can derail you by a quarter, 2 quarters. Those are okay. These are external conditions. They do come. They will come. But at least your trajectory should be upwards. So long your trajectory is upwards and you are moving towards your goal in the right direction, then you are on the right path. If you feel no, then please sit down with your core team and think what needs to be done.
Fantastic. And Manish, lastly,
Yeah.
what empowers you?
Friends, family, I would say, if that answers your question.
Oh, yes, that sums it all up for me. Friends and family. That's
friends.
fantastic.
I would, like to say I have been very, very lucky. And with all humility, I would say that I have got some amazing friends who have been there in my journey from the age of 18, who have ensured that my true north does not shift. It's very important to have your true north in the right place. Everybody has a moral compass.
Yes.
You have to ensure that, that is intact all throughout your journey, whichever stage you are.
Absolutely.
And I'm lucky to have that. And I have a amazingly good family. My wife, obviously, super support. My mom, who's more like my friend. My brother, my children, they all support me. They, not that we don't have our differences and our arguments and our, yes, sometimes even books are thrown at each other, but but we we ensure that a family that stays together, eats together, stays together, grows together. Is what I think, that they give me the strength.
Wonderful. Manish, thank you so much. That was truly empowering. And it is important to have people help you maintain your true north, like you said, and having that moral compass, having family and friends, having a strong ecosystem definitely is very, very empowering. But most of all, I think this conversation with you, Manish, was of immense value. Stories, thoughts, lessons. And I'm personally taking back a lot from this conversation, and I hope our listeners do too. Thank you, Manish, for your time, for your insights, and for truly empowering us today.
Thank you, Zaina, for your kind words. I hope the listeners benefit from this conversation, and I hope good success to you also in these times. First of all, I'm humbled that you chose me to speak on your podcast. I never thought anybody would even come and talk to me.
No, you're such a fabulous orator, I would say. It's great that you made it. Thank you.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been a really, really great week on the network. Let me make a couple of recommendations to you guys. Agla Station Adulthood, they have an extraordinary episode on relationships. Ritasha and Ayushi, as always, do a bang-up job. I think you'll really enjoy that conversation. Check out Edges and Sledges, where DJ Ashwin and Varun have been talking to fans from different IPL teams on every episode. It's a really, really interesting project they've taken on during the course of the IPL. And as it comes to a conclusion, I'm sure you'll love to hear the thoughts on the tournament as a whole. I want to mention Uncle Please Sit. They had a really great episode which dove into why is pollution so bad. And I think that given the circumstances we're dealing with right now, it makes a ton of sense to listen to that. Cyrus had a really great week on his show as well. On the Monday episode, he spoke to Raj and DK about all kinds of stuff. He was in one of their early movies. Definitely a fun conversation to check that out. And finally, let me talk to you about the Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. We're very excited about this show. On the first episode, Jairam Ramesh is there having conversation with Siddharth Bhatia about the legacy of Indira Gandhi. I think you will really, really get something out of this. Do give it a listen. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we are just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel.
And me, Tushar.
Every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.